Hi everyone, it's Claire back again. We're going to have a look at greys today. So I've been through the Roy-G Biv of the rainbow with Compare and Destash, and we're now starting to look at the pale to mid-tone neutral shade. So I've got some grey creams, just straight down the middle creams, and I've got a part two where I'm going to look at some pale and mid-tone greys with different finishes. So there's a part one and a part two. And if you look here, I think there are a few comparisons here. I don't know if I've done a Claire Compares before on these polishes, but these two look very similar. These three look very similar. These two, I think, are very comparable. And there are the three sort of random greys here. So let's have a look. So there's definitely going to be some comparisons. I don't know if there'll be any destashing, but let's see what happens. First up is the wonderful and very classic My Boyfriend Scales Walls. This essentially looks like a white when it's stacked up against other greys, but it is a very, very, very pale grey. It's a white with a touch of grey, and it's just a fantastic palette cleansing type of shade. So if you're into white polishes but you don't want that bright stark white, just something slightly softer, then My Boyfriend Scales Walls. Can't even see the comparison there with the white against the white. It still looks white, but that's My Boyfriend Scales Walls, and it's from the Spider-Man collection. And then next up, this is an example of a grey that is infused with another colour. So I've got a lot of blue greys, pink greys, and this is definitely a kind of pinky grey. This one's called Stay Cool, and it's from Lottie London. Yeah, you can definitely see the kind of purpley pink leaning shade here, especially when you compare it against this grey. But yeah, that is Stay Cool from Lottie London. And then this one here is Zero to Hero, which is a beautiful mid-tone grey cream from Essence. I think this was it. This would have been either sent to me by Catherine, Mrs. Cronall, or Anna from Germany. And yeah, a very pretty mid-tone grey. So that's the three that are not really comparable with anything else, so very unlikely that I'll be destashing them. But let's have a look at some of these other ones here. These two look very similar to me, and I genuinely can't remember if I've done a comparison before, but this one is Mud About You, and this one here is Now and Zen from Essie, and they both have that very slight taupey kind of slate grey. They may be completely different on the wheel, but they do definitely look very similar in the bottle. So the first one here is the Essence Mud About You. This is a very muddy grey, especially compared to the one next to it, which now begins to look much more blue toned. And this is Now and Zen from Essie, which I think was from the Japanese themed collection a few years ago, the same collection that had Playing Coy. They do look very similar, but the Essence is a little bit darker, Mud About You, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about that after a second coat. Let's move on to these two now. These are kind of slightly green infused greys. So this one here is Pool from Butter London, which I picked up recently from TK Maxx, and this one is, I think off the top of my head, if I can remember, it's just come to me, it's called Bitter Butter, but the label fell off this. This is a Smiths & Cult that was sent to me by my friend Anne over in Paris a few years ago now. So you can actually take the lids off the Smiths & Cult, and it's got a very, very small brush. This is a very pretty shade, it's one of those polishes that's definitely going to look better with a second coat. So that's Bitter Butter from Smiths & Cult, and this one here is Pool from Butter London. So this is a recent pickup. I have worn this recently. Now this is, now that I see them next to each other, this is definitely more blue toned, and the Bitter Butter is definitely more of a green hue to it. So similar in the bottle, not as similar on the nail. So it's always good to just swatch before you destash, just in case. They're all very different greys there. And then we've got these three here, which do look very similar in the bottle, but let's have a look at what they're going to look like on the nail. So there's a Heavy Metal from Sally Hansen. This one here is Lulu from Ada's Nails, which is actually the polish that you can see me wearing on my thumbnail for my channel. And this one here is Change Your Altitude, which I think came out in an autumn collection a few years ago. These to me are kind of elephant grey. So let's start with Heavy Metal. This one was sent to me by Jules in Canada, and I think she sent this when Pacific Blue arrived. So she sent me a few Sally Hansens, and it is a great formula. So that's Heavy Metal. This one here is Lulu from Ada's Nails. Yeah, quite a bit paler. Wow, that is quite a difference actually, even though they look so similar in the bottle. And then I think this one's going to be even darker. That's Change Your Altitude from China Glaze. Yeah, you can see that they're definitely in the same colour category, that elephant grey, but that's a little bit darker. But the one that stands out as very different is Lulu from Ada's Nails. So those are my very different. I know it's going to be difficult to destash any of these, but I'll put a second coat on and we'll come back and see what happens. Oh, this is going to be so difficult. They are very different from each other. In fact, some of them don't even look grey, but I can assure you they are definitely grey. These ones here are leaning more into the taupe family, but I just love grey. It's a real comfort shade for me. Obviously, I don't know whether because there's a link with the name possibly, and that is my name. My surname is Gray. I didn't just choose the name to choose a colour. But yeah, grey is definitely one of my favourite shades. So anyway, I am delaying the inevitable here, but I am going to go through this quickly. I'm going to keep my Boyfriend Scales Walls. I'm also going to keep this mousy purpley grey, which is Stay Cool. And for now, I am going to keep my Essence Zero to Hero. But these two are very similar here. That's the Essence and Now and Zen. These two. I'm actually going to destash the Essence and keep Now and Zen, which just tips into a little bit more green. But they're all beautiful, beautiful shades. These two to me are different enough to keep both. So Bitter Buddhist has got a slight touch more green, and Pool has a little bit more blue. And then I'm really struggling with these three here. They do look different from each other, but I think I'm just going to go for it and destash the China Glaze Change Your Altitude, because it's kind of in the middle between both of them. That's Heavy Metal and that is Lulu. Yeah, I've not reached for this for quite a while. This is why it's easier to do this quicker. If you spend too much time deliberating over it, then you won't do any destashing. So I'm going to hurry up and destash these two. So that's Change Your Altitude and Mud About You from Essence. So I started off with 10 and I've destashed 8, which isn't fantastic, but it just kind of thins the massive collection a little bit. So in part 2, we're going to look at different finishes with pale grey and mid-tone greys. So I've got some glitters, shimmers, holographics, flakes, all that kind of good stuff. So I'll see you back for part 2. Let me know what you think of greys. Are you a grey nail polish fan? Do you prefer blue leaning, taupe leaning greys? And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.